Hello and welcome to another episode of Primetime, my interview series where it is always my endeavor to have an insightful conversation with an inspiring youngster. This episode is no different. I have somebody called Saarthak Chaturvedi with me, a remarkable young student who is on his way to Princeton, but more importantly, perhaps from our standpoint, has done immense amount of work in the area of sustainability, which is really the need of the hour as the planet grapples to resuscitate itself from various impact of the climate change and pollution, etc. So let's welcome Saarthak onto the show without any further ado, and let's understand from him his motivation and exactly the kind of work that he's been doing. Welcome, Saarthak.
Hi, Karthik. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. So let's dive straight in, Saarthak. For our younger viewers, especially, instead of me doing that, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so hi, I'm Saarthak Chaturvedi. I'm from Jaipur, a school called J. Shri Periwal International School. I've been a STEM student forever. I've been really into computer science and mathematics, and that's where I found most of my interests. And another important thing about me is that I've been a vegan for a very long time. And that was the primary reason why I got into sustainability and why I did all the work. So, yeah, those are the most important things about me. So, sustainability is very meaningful to me. And the way I work towards it is through computer science and math and STEM because that's what I'm good at.
Okay, so that sounds wonderful. So you've taken your passions and sort of combined them for the greater good. That's wonderful. So let's start right at the beginning, Sarthak, and tell us how the veganism came about and how did it all begin?
Okay, I come from a very health driven family. My dad is an athlete, my mom's a nutritionist. So it's a complete culture in my entire family, even my cousins and my mossies and mossas, that we always talk about getting healthier, getting fitter, exercising more. So, in the midst of that, I decided to turn vegan because I believe that it was the best decision I could take for myself to get healthier in every way possible. So that's how it started. I just randomly decided because I thought it might be cool. And a lot of people discouraged me because you're not having any milk, you're not having any ghee, no meat, no eggs. So they think that how are you going to get strong? How will you survive in India without ghee and paneer and doodh? And yeah, my friends made fun of me for it, but I was okay with it because I believed that it was the right decision. So I still stuck to it no matter what everyone had to say. Even my parents didn't really support it at first because they thought it would be too difficult. But yeah, I stuck with it and I did it for I think a year and a half at a stretch before I took a little break. So that's how it started for health and fitness.
Okay,
But
so I'm going to Sarthak quickly interrupt you here. And I want to try and understand. We'll, of course, come to the sustainability in detail in just a bit. But how long back was this? How old were you when you turned vegan?
I was in the ninth grade,
Okay.
so I was 14 years old.
You were 14, and and before you turned vegan, you ate everything, like you were a non-vegetarian.
I was a non-vegetarian. I actually really liked eating chicken and
Hmm.
eggs, and a lot of the stuff that I left, I think uh, I had to leave a lot of stuff that was very dear to me, including yeah, I was a non-vegetarian basically, and
Were you? Or do you think you were also discouraged because it would become a logistical problem at home, so meals would have to be made separately just for you?
no, that wasn't an issue because my mom doesn't allow any non-vegetarian cooking at home. I only
Okay.
ate not. We either ordered takeout or we
Right.
ate outside. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So carry on. So then, for a year and a half, you were vegan, and then you took a break.
Yes, I did. Then I resumed, and it was tougher than before, because once you give yourself that short break, once you give yourself that room that, okay, I can cheat a little bit, then it's very hard to get to that level of determination again, that no cheat meals and stuff like that. And yeah, I did a lot of research on veganism because I had so many arguments with my friends. I used to tell them that you should be a vegan, and I had a very tough time explaining why, because nobody was ready to listen to me. So I used to do a lot of research why you should be vegan, what are the benefits. And after having been a vegan for a very long time, I actually realized where the true value of being a vegan was, and that was in environmental preservation. And yeah, doing this research, I realized that as an individual, like just for a single person, it is the best decision you can make your life more sustainable and have less of a carbon footprint and a less negative impact on the environment, just from me as a person and my lifestyle. So that drove me more to continue with it and debate more about it and try to convince more people. I managed to convince like two or three of my friends to try it out, which was a great achievement for me. So yeah, that's how it started.
For those who are not very familiar with this, Sarthak, can you explain a little more in detail exactly in what ways one reduces one's carbon footprint by going vegan?
How does it reduce? Okay, so this is a very simple explanation, but people actually think that it should be the opposite, because they're like, if you're eating plants, then that means that you're harming the environment. And if you're eating animals, you're helping the environment because there are less animals. But that's actually true, because if you're eating fruits and plant-based food, that means that people will plant more trees. And you can actually eat a vegan or a vegetarian from tree or any sort of plant. The plant has to grow fully, and by the time it does grow fully, it helps the environment a lot. And that same tree will keep giving you fruits, and that same tree will keep helping the environment. So being a vegan or a vegetarian is not harming the environment at all, it's actually helping it, because if the demand for plant-based food is more, people will have to plant more trees and do more vegetation. But on the other hand, if you're eating non-vegetarian food, people will have to raise more livestock. There will be a lot of cows and chickens and sheep raised, which, on the other hand, will harm the environment by using up the oxygen. And another very big factor is that it takes a lot of water to produce 1 pound of beef, but it takes very little water to produce plant-based food. I am not sure if the number is exactly correct, but yeah, I think I saw this like 2 3 years back when I was researching that producing 1 pound of beef takes about 100 showers worth of water. Like you can take
Wow.
100 showers with that water. So it was really significant and really
Right.
shocked me. Where on the
Right.
other hand, just producing, I don't know, some tofu or something like that, just a plant-based thing, would take only 2 or 3 showers of water. So it was not a small difference; it was a huge difference. So
Sure.
yeah, that's how it helps the environment. And
Okay.
yeah, it's not
That's
very
very, very
common.
that's very useful and insightful. Now, what began as a personal endeavor, primarily led by health motive, and then you discovered happily that it had such larger ramifications. How did this
Mhm.
whole veganism move of yours evolve and transition into more endeavors in the entire area of sustainability?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, it involved a lot of arguments and debates with my friends, especially because they weren't supporting veganism. And I had some conversations with the directors of my school too. So I tried to introduce vegan food in the canteen, which again people didn't like. But yeah, I tried to do those things, like trying to motivate other people to do it. That was just step one of taking it to another level. And I did this thing called sustainability goals for JPIS, which is my school. And we made this entire list of how to make the campus more sustainable. It
Hmm.
had a lot of other stuff apart from veganism. It had electricity based stuff, it had recycling, it had a lot of things. And I did surveys and stuff, and I took help from people to get a more holistic idea of it. but that too stemmed from veganism. Having more vegan food was also a part of it, and growing our own crops on one area of the campus that I always saw empty was also a part of it. So there
Mhm.
were a lot of proposals, many of which got implemented. Some of them were not feasible, so they didn't, and some of them are still in consideration, I think. I'm not in school anymore, so I'm not sure, but yeah, that was the first step that I took, the first few steps. And apart from that, I had this app idea in mind because um like I mentioned, this 100 showers of water thing. Remembered this fact, and I've had this in my mind for a very long time, that there was this website which was, I think, created by the United Nations, their environmental program, and it tells you this information about your lifestyle, and it tells you which food requires how much water to produce, how much carbon dioxide it releases, and how much impact it has on the environment. So I had been developing this app idea in my mind for a very long time, that I could create an app to help each individual improve their own sustainability that comes from their own lifestyle. So that was another step that I had been planning to take for a very long time.
Where do you think this whole drive and passion in you came from? I mean, it seemed to go on increasing and building. What do you think was fueling it? What started as a very personal health related thing, how come it became this environment conscious thing? I mean, how did this passion even develop, you think?
I think that it was fear for some reason. I mean, a lot of people think that it's very common to hear that, oh, the planet is going to die, and we won't be able to do anything about it. And that's just Instagram posts that people read, and just stories that people don't take very seriously. But I ended up reading a few research papers on this, um, and I read somewhere that my own city, Jaipur, will be completely out of water in the next 30 years if the current trend continues. And that was so eye opening for me. I mean, if you are going to remove 10 years plus minus, it's still terrible that we'll lose water in the next 50 years. And how tough can times get? We're making so much progress in computer science, because I was a computer science student, so I was always up to date with that. And with technology, and everything is advancing so much, and the world is just getting better at everything. But what's it all for if the planet dies and we're just not here to enjoy any of it anymore? There is no point to literally anything. So that's how I realized that this is the problem to focus on. This is the most important thing that we need to work on, because if we don't take care of this, then there's no real point to doing anything else at all. That's how it kept going, and that's how I got motivated to do.
Well, that's wonderful. That's certainly a very woke philosophy. Now, I want you to tell our viewers a little bit about this huge project that you undertook, again in the area of sustainability, that you and I had discussed off camera earlier.
Hmm. Okay, so this was called the Toilet Building Project. We tried to come up with a cool name, but we failed. Uh, so, yeah, so this started from a will to do social work, I guess. We knew that social work is something that everyone should do as a youngster, that is rewarding for you. It makes you a better part of society, and it's helpful for your college admissions, which was always in the back of our minds somewhere.
Sure.
So that's why we thought of doing social work. And two or three of the servants from my friends' houses, that it was me and five other friends, six of us, and two or three of our servants and drivers were from the same village. The village is called Pali. Pali is right, I think it's 1.5 hour away from Jaipur, so wasn't very far. And they told us that we don't have toilets in our village, and women have to walk into the farms and into the forest to be able to defecate. And it was obviously a huge problem that we knew everyone in India faced, but hearing the story from someone we knew on a day-to-day basis was much more real to understand the problem. And we visited the village 2 or 3 times, and we had meetings with contractors and the mayor of the village, and we interviewed a lot of people. I think we interviewed almost everyone who lived in that village,
Mm-hmm.
almost every house, because a lot of people lived in one house, so it wasn't that difficult. The village has 1,500 people, and we realized that around 60-70% of them do not have um, toilets. There were women who couldn't walk. That we met with one woman who had some disorder, so she couldn't walk, but there was
Mm-hmm.
still no toilet in her house, so she had to be carried to every
Okay.
day, and that's how difficult it was. They had rape
Sure.
cases rising because of this problem. They had lakes getting contaminated. A lot of, you know, the soil was getting really bad, and they had one main water body that they all really needed, but even that was in a really bad situation because of open defecation and urination.
Sure.
So we recognized this problem, and we tried to do something about it because we knew that we could, in terms of, raising funds and actually getting the work done. And we were able to strike a deal with the contractor and reduce the costs as well, because we didn't really need a very fancy toilet or something. We needed just a basic one that the villagers can just use.
Sure.
So it was sort of expensive at first, but we came up with a few ideas that could help us reduce the cost. For example, one idea that we used in some places, it wasn't possible everywhere, was that a standard toilet has four walls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the cost of brick and cement would be to cover all four walls. But then we thought that if we attach the toilet to the house, like if it's outside the house and if it's attached, then we could only do it with three walls.
Key
So that
points.
reduces the cost significantly.
Sure.
So that's what small ideas like that
Right.
helped us
Right. Right.
make the project bigger.
Hmm.
And we did a crowdfunding campaign over 14 days with this company called Fuel a Dream. It's a
Hmm.
website for crowdfunding. It
Yes.
does huge projects, and we were one of its biggest. And we had around, I don't know, 100 funders, 80
Mm-hmm.
funders,
Mm-hmm.
80 students who were funding our campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And to just briefly explain how crowdfunding works, it's basically one big amount that has to be reached, and a lot of funders funding it, and each student gets their own funding, like they message and contact their own families and their own contacts. So it's 1,000 rupees from 1,000 sources, leading up to a very big amount. So
Sure.
that's a very efficient way to raise funds. So
Right.
we raised around 35 lakh rupees,
Wonderful.
$50,000 in,
Hmm.
yep, it was an overwhelming response that we got.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
explained our cause, we tried to tell them what we were doing. We built a sample toilet before we started the project to show them that we were serious and what it was going to look like. We gave them testimonials from the villagers that they really needed, and it happened to work out. We raised more than enough funds, and we built 110 toilets in Pali and one adjacent village because we raised more than we needed to.
Wow.
So Pali is now completely open defecation free, and
Hmm.
realistically it is probably the only open defecation free village in northern India.
Mm-hmm.
um, we've been told that villages claim to be open defecation free, but the reality is always very different from what it seems like from the outside. So it was a great achievement for us to be able to do that. So that is about it for the toilet building project.
Yeah, that's a remarkable, remarkable achievement. Well done. Congratulations. I
Thank
want
you.
to understand when repeatedly said we. Who was the we? Who was your team?
My team was five of my friends. I can name them. Arnav Ghatiwala. He's a classmate of mine. He's brilliant. He is going to UPenn. We
Okay.
had Drishti Agarwal and Anaya Gupta, both of whom are going to New York University. We had Mihika Jain, who is going to U Chicago, and we have Navya Sharma, who I think is going to the Parsons School of Design. So we had this very brilliant lot of people. I was more technologically, savvy. We
Right.
had
Right.
Arnav, who was an entrepreneurial mind, we had creative minds in Drishti and Navya, and we had the business minds in Anaya and economics with Mihika. So she understood the problems well. So it was a great bunch of people, and we're
Sure.
all friends. So we were able to do work well together. So yeah, that was the six of us.
Excellent. That sounds absolutely amazing. And finally, also share a little more in detail about the app, how it came about, and there was some grant, etc.
hmm So basically, this is called the Harvard Sustainability Grant that I applied for. There's this organization called the Center for Business and Environmentalism. Um, uh, it's called the Harvard CBE. So they have a few impact projects that they do every year from all over the world. They take youngsters and they fund them based on the work they've done in the past and the work they plan to do in the future. So I filled out an application, then I interviewed with them, and I won um a good amount of money from them. It was around $1,000 that yeah. So in the interview process, basically, I explained what I had done already with the toilet building project and what I planned to do with the building of the app. So yeah, that's why they funded me, and the funding obviously helped me build the app with a lot of stuff that goes into it. So that's how the app thing came about, because it been in my mind for a very long time and I wanted to work on it. So that's when I started to finally, you know, build it into a reality. And yeah.
What is the app called? Is it still out there? Is it still accessible?
It's not accessible now because I'm not sure what the issue was. There was some issue with it. I
Okay.
yeah, something I don't remember the name, but I was using this hosting company that they were helping me. That was part of where my funding went, and they
Mm-hmm.
had some issue with my license, and I
Okay.
had to remove it. So now it's not up anymore. It was called the Sustainability Challenge,
Okay.
and I can explain a little bit. It did a good job of analyzing a person in terms of the impact they have in terms of sustainability and helping them improve upon it. So it basically conducted an entire survey when a person enters the app that assesses their entire lifestyle, asking them
Mm-hmm.
different questions. What do they eat? How much do they travel? And what kind of food do they eat? How many times they travel in the plane, stuff like that. And through their entire lifestyle, it basically calculates your carbon footprint, your water footprint, and your plastic footprint, all of that. And it shows you how much above or below that is the global average and how much it should be ideally if we want to sustain this planet. And then it shows you the most efficient and the best ways to actually reduce it. So if you were to get groceries using a bike instead of going on a motorcycle or a car twice a week that you do, that would reduce your carbon footprint by this much. Or if you were to use the fan this for these many hours instead of using the air conditioner for these many hours, that would reduce your carbon footprint by this much. And if you were to eat red meat only once a week instead of 5 times a week and switch to vegetables and fruits, that would reduce your water and carbon footprint by this much. So that's what it does. And people can take different challenges and different pledges that they want to work on, and then it tracks your progress, and you sort of have a dashboard and everything. That's just the app
Mm-hmm.
technicalities. So that's what the idea is.
Wow, great. Okay, last two questions, Sarthak. Immediately, what are future plans? What's going to happen?
Future plans will be decided at Princeton, I think, because endless opportunities over there. One of my future plans is that I want to get my app up again,
Mm-hmm.
and this time for good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what all I plan to do at Princeton. I'm definitely going to pursue computer science
Mm-hmm.
and economics. I love economics too. I'm going to try to pursue some philosophy. I think it's interesting. And hopefully some biology and physics along the way. I had this knack for being very wide with the subjects that I
Hmm.
was interested in. So there's a lot that I want to do, but primarily I'm thinking computer science, maybe law in the future. I don't know. I'm really confused, so I can't
That's
really
okay.
say.
It's great to be confused, actually. And finally, Sarthak, what have you personally been up to during the pandemic, during the lockdown? How have you sort of kept your sanity and kept active? And what advice would you therefore have for other young people your age or younger?
Okay, so this might sound a little weird considering the way I started out in this interview, but I used to be very fat
Mm-hmm.
when lockdown started. That was primarily because I had my 10th boards the previous year and I did nothing but study and eat late at night, and I got like really fat and I wasn't happy with it. And I all I've done throughout my two lockdowns that we've had is work out a lot, exercise a lot. I lost a lot of weight. I lost around 18 kilograms. I don't know. I didn't look like this. So that wasn't only good for me physically, it is brilliant for you mentally. I
Sure.
To anyone who watches this interview, I cannot stress this enough. Any mental or any personal problem you're going through, you're not having a good time, lockdown is too stressful for you, you're not feeling upbeat and happy about things. If you start working out, it literally changes everything. It seems tough to do and challenging to do, but it is so rewarding.
Hmm.
It has completely changed me as a person and my lockdown experience. A few other things I did. I was still in school, online school. So I was still working on my college applications. I spent a lot of time on doing that. And I did a few small projects here and there. I was a teacher for an online summer school for our school. I taught computer science and mathematics to a lot of people.
Okay.
So that was a big part. And one interesting thing I did was the 5 a.m. Club. There's this book by a very popular author called Robin Sharma. He's a best-selling author who wrote a book called The 5 a.m. Club that explains the value of waking up at 5 a.m. and creating your lifestyle that way. So me and one friend of mine, Malika, we started randomly doing yoga on Zoom at 5 a.m. We thought we will
Hmm.
try to give it a shot. And we did that for a couple of days before we thought that we should start an actual 5 a.m. club. And we
Okay.
started one in school, and we had over 50 participants that attended regularly
Wow.
meetings. And we didn't really think about what we were going to do, but we started taking sessions on social and emotional learning, what it's like to be in high school, what you're supposed to do, how to make the right decisions. We worked on a few projects together, the members of the club. We used to take goals and targets from them every day, what they plan to achieve. And since you're waking up at 5 a.m. to be more productive, you will have immensely productive days. So that worked for me and Malika because we were waking up at 5 a.m. and we were able to help a lot of other students make their lives more productive during lockdown. Plus, it's very good for your mental health again to
Sure.
start your day early and talk to a few people who are at the same wavelength like you. Because personally, it was very important for me to take care of my own mental health, and a lot of people were, very stressed out. Online classes are tough, and school was getting more and more challenging. So it was a great push that all of us got. So those are the few things that got me through my lockdown.
Wonderful.
That's
Great. Okay, Sarthak, it's been absolutely eye opening to chat with you. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Don't leave the sustainability thing, keep at it, and all the best at Princeton.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you so much.